So let's keep it in the SEC West, where Arkansas quarterback Brandon Allen threw 4 touchdowns on Saturday. Now, he only attempted 5 passes, but who cares when 4 of those are for scores? Allen spread out the wealth and hit 4 different receivers for TDs and ended up going 4 for 5 for 117 yards. And BA is not the only player that went completely hog wild against Nicholls State. I hope you guys see what I did there.
Yes,
did you see that?
Yeah. I got you.
Well, the Razorbacks also scored 8 touchdowns in their first 20 plays. That's almost 3 points per play. They had 5 touchdown drives that lasted just 1 play. They set the stadium scoring record as well as about, give or take, 400 other offensive records. We're just going to throw that out there. But how does Coach Bielema believe his team got better despite the lopsided final score?
I've been accused of running up the scores in the past, and you got to do something. When you're in those situations, you got to run or pass, and we threw the ball obviously in the first half on some plays that hit and scored, and especially after we started to try to tempo down the offense, the beginning of after the first series of the second half, and obviously we put our number 2 quarterback in before halftime. I didn't want to put him in there and say, hey, you can't throw the football. So we needed to work on some things. We did as best as we can, but I was also trying to be respectful of the game. That's my number one thing I hit the guys with on Sunday is, to me, we didn't get sloppy. We didn't look like we were, lacking the effort or the detail, when the score got out of hand and the guys we had threes. Our threes were playing really middle of the third quarter on in certain positions, and the guys just respected the game and kept playing efficiently, and the result was a lot of good things happened. There's 2 guys in this program who every day continue to do well. Cody Walker, before I got here, the hardship that kid went through, and we moved him to fullback, and he did nothing but accept that. And for him to get a series in there as a tailback and show what he could do, I thought was awesome. And he was really, like I said, we had a lot of guys with the sniffles last week. He jumped right in. And then the other guy who was, I think he started on 3 of our 4 units, Denzel Evans. And you saw that first one. He almost went to the house. And to me, he hears all this about both those 2 here, everything about our triple-headed monster. And, and they deservedly so. Corliss, Alex, and Jay Will do a lot of really good things. But those 2 guys are running backs in our program, too. And not a lot of people say things to them, but they're 2 of my favorite guys, and it was fun to see them get that. I won't give them the country yet. I think that they're good players and they're elite in our program. I like the fact that I think all 3 of them kind of push one another, and Cody Walker's right there knocking on the door, and Denzel. I think each one of them bring a little bit of the uniqueness to the game, but I will say this, and I mean this with all due respect, I think Alex Collins probably has had as good a 2 weeks or 3 weeks of practice since he's been here, and that's really showing up in his game plan. And then Jay Will, every chance he gets, I think he just continues to impress. I think for us, this is where your plan overall as a program kicks in. Your offensive philosophy has to tie into your defensive philosophy, and both those have to tie into your kicking game. Obviously, the more that we can monopolize the clock and the more efficiently we can operate and do certain things, it's only going to help our defense. But on to Texas Tech, a team that obviously does what they do very, very well. I remember as a young linebacker coach going against Texas Tech in a bowl game, and Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback, and the checks and the calls and the things that he did in Mike's system were very impressive. A very good player who's now developed into an outstanding football coach. I think that got a tremendous opportunity for us on Saturday. I'm excited to go on the road since we already had the experience at Auburn to kind of go there and get a feel for Big 12 football, but especially I think playing at Texas Tech is a very unique environment. I haven't been there, but I've had a lot of people comment on it. I know it, for the older crowd in the room and for the Arkansas contingent from a long time to renew an old rivalry with them is kind of cool. I believe the last time we've been there was like 1991 or something like that. So nobody in the generation of players that I'm coaching have been in that rivalry, but I know it means a lot to the people in the stands. So I think they're going to go up tempo. They're going to obviously prohibit you from subbing. I think that's a big part of what they're doing as far as getting line of scrimmage. He's obviously got a very live arm, and the part that is impressive to me is, for a guy that's a sophomore, he was elected captain. He's obviously got leadership qualities and traits that go beyond just what you see on film. He's got a voice in the locker room. I think the fact that just what you've seen out of Cliff in the past and his experiences, you know that guy's and I know that position is going to get better every week in their program. That's a mainstay for what he believes in, and he's directly in charge of it. So my guess is that kid will continue to improve and take the opportunities that he gets each week.
Well, that was a dominating win by the Razorbacks, and they were able to snap a 10-game losing streak, which was the worst in their school history. How important of a confidence builder is it to just get a win when you're trying to learn how to be a winning team?
Well, I think they definitely had to get a win, and I think against an FCS team, they needed to get a win like that, But I think, Maria, in the back of their minds, they know that it was an FCS team, and good, it was great for confidence and all that, but, this was a mismatch from the time the telephone call was made to schedule the game. Right. It was just not a fair fight, and I think the players know that. They need to get a win on an FBS team, and they're going to have a chance to do that this week with Texas Tech, because that's going to be a real contrasting style of offenses to go against each other.
You never want to dismiss a win, but you can diminish a win, I think. I mean, you can discount a win. And as a player, you're right, Coach. You look at it and you're appreciative of the victory, and you understand that it takes work to prepare and to maintain that edge. And at the same time, to pretend that what just happened is on par to what they need to accomplish this year versus what is arguably the most competitive division in the most competitive conference in the country, in that West Division of the SEC. The idea that this type of a victory, you can't only get so much momentum from it. It beats losing, don't get me wrong, right, but it certainly doesn't get that ball rolling downhill real quickly. And they've got a challenge versus Texas Tech, and it kind of goes both ways.
And a big challenge coming in, and you mentioned it, it's a contrast of offensive philosophies. Arkansas likes to run the ball, Texas Tech looking to air it out. Coach, how are they going to be able to simulate what Texas Tech does on offense in practice to help them prepare for Lubbock?
Well, I think Nick brought this up, Coach Saban brought this up a week or two ago on how when you play a spread offense and you're a pro-style offensive team, they give each other problems preparing. I think the main thing is, if you're Texas Tech, you're trying to figure out how you're going to find tight ends and fullbacks in practice to duplicate and replicate what they're going to see on Saturday, which is a downhill, smash mouth, power ISO football team that they don't practice that. So you got to start there with the players right now and who they're going to put in those positions to simulate it.
Yeah, that's the real challenge. I mean, you look at Texas A&M, keeping in mind that the Coach Kingsbury left A&M to go back to his alma mater at Texas Tech. Arkansas sees A&M now, and they share a division with them. So the idea that there'd be a lack of familiarity, when you look at the balance of the Big 12, I think the real challenge may lie in a more traditional offense. I think normal football is what Coach Bielema calls it. They run normal football at Arkansas on the offensive side of the ball. You don't see a lot of normal football out there anymore, including in the SEC, but certainly at the Big 12. So I actually think that what used to be different, what used to be unique, the spread, the tempo, and that sort of thing, there's a lot more defenses that are gearing towards that can prepare towards that can simulate that in practice a lot easier than a more traditional two tight, one tight, two back offense.
Absolutely, and I think for Texas or for Arkansas, it's easier to simulate. They've got speed guys on their team. They've got multiple receivers and things of that nature that can run routes. That's what they got to practice against. But it's really hard to come up with tight ends and fullbacks to play positions to replicate what Arkansas does when you don't even have a lot of them on your roster, if any. And to me, that's where the challenge becomes difficult.
Well, for the Red Raiders, Davis Webb, quarterback, had a great day, but narrowly escaped with the win over UTEP. I mean, the final was 30-26. What do you guys think is going to be the key for Arkansas coming into that game that will help them get a victory?
Well, I don't think there's any question. They're going to have to control the line of scrimmage, control the ball. When you play teams like that are completely different from you, that have a chance to throw for 500 and put up, 45 points and things of that nature, you got to hold the ball yourself. And that's what they're going to have to do. I think they're going to have to physically pound them at the line of scrimmage because, again, the east-west nature of what the Big 12 is, that's Arkansas's advantage. They're going to have to keep the ball, don't turn it over, and just sustain some drives out there and then try to get a couple of turnovers and get the ball back.
Yeah, I think they'd have to win the line of scrimmage. And maintaining possession is part of it on the offensive side. The other is to get the opponent, in this instance Davis Webb, get that quarterback out of rhythm. Move him off his spot if you can. The ball comes out quickly, but if it's possible to get him uncomfortable, especially early, and they're not able to get on that roll, that's advantage Arkansas.
All right, well, the second FBS opponent for the Razorbacks. The first one, a loss to Auburn. We'll see where they end up.
in Norman. And luckily, this isn't a fashion shooter. It might be a blowout. Cliff Kingsbury, known for his good looks and passing offense. Brett Bielema, known for, well, running the ball. The Red Raiders host the Razorbacks in Lubbock this Saturday. All right. I put this, I shouldn't have done this. I'm so sorry. I put this out on Twitter saying that we might talk about SEC versus the Big 12, and I couldn't read any of the tweets on it. So, but Coach, you've seen it from both sides, Iowa State and at Auburn. What's the biggest difference between these two conferences?
Well, I think you just go ahead and look at the NFL draft the last couple of years, and you can start there. The players, I think, are different. I think the SEC's had 112 drafted in the last 2 years. The Big 12's had 39. You can start there. Look, they got great coaches in that league. No one would argue that. It's just a different type of league. And you may argue that, you know what? Yeah, but they have all these offenses that are spread and, you know, they throw the ball around. And the skill players, maybe there's better skill players. But if you look at that, 37 SEC tight ends, wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs have been drafted as compared to 18 in the Big 12 over the last 2 years. I think you can start with players. It's just a different type of league and a different type of mentality.
And of those 39, I bet the concentration is at just a few schools. I bet it's Oklahoma. I bet it's Texas. There might be some from Oklahoma State. And so, you know, there's been a lot of conference comparisons. So you look at Oklahoma and head coach Bob Stoops, and he says, you know, I don't see that big of a disparity. He may be right for his squad.
For his team, right.
But you really do see a league where the bottom half, the bottom maybe 2/3, maybe the bottom 3/4 of that conference is not very comparable to the ones that you will see in this conference.
But let's stay in that Big 12 SEC matchup. We head up to Lubbock. You couldn't probably find more contrasting styles from the type of offenses to the coaches themselves. Can the Razorbacks run it against this Red Raider squad?
Well, I think they will run it. That's what they want to do. You go back and you watch the first half of that Auburn-Arkansas game, and they looked outstanding running the football. Now, it changed a little bit in the second half. I think a big thing for Arkansas is they get Corliss Marshall back for this game. Of all those running backs, he might be the most explosive. So now you've got Collins, you've got Jonathan Williams, and Corliss Marshall. I just think Arkansas is too big and too strong. You know they're going to commit to running the football. Brandon Allen's probably been better than he's been given credit for. I just think they're too much for Texas Tech down there.
Well, it's going to be a tough little trio to stop for Cliff Kingsbury.
How about Arkansas at Lubbock against Texas Tech, a team that hasn't been that impressive?
This is a Brett Bielema type of game. Line up, run the football. Texas Tech's defense is not very good against the run. Brett Bielema, impose your will against this young Texas Tech's defense and pound them, big fella.
Is there one of those teams that you say has maybe the biggest opportunity to really make a bit of a splash here?
For me, it's Arkansas because think about Brett Bielema. They've been down. How good would it be for Bielema to go on the road against a Power 5 conference team and just run them out of their own stadium? To me, that will be big for the conference, but more importantly, it will be big for Brett Bielema in the psyche of the Hawks.
There's still some hesitation in Arkansas. This would be a great opportunity for Bielema to say, look, I told you we're going the right direction. We're going the right direction here. It's a big opportunity.
Well, they want to know if it can work. Big Ten football coming down, bruising. They want to know if it can work in the SEC.
Yeah, well, it's a great opportunity, like you said, for them in Lubbock. So both teams really huge chances on Saturday to impress.
Arkansas was winless last year in SEC play, but towards the end of the year, you saw them playing better. In the first half against Auburn,
looked a lot better.
They looked a lot better. Now they go on the road to Texas Tech, a team that last year beat Arizona State, very good Pac-12 team, in a bowl game. They have talent, obviously, in the passing game, and they're perceived as an upper-tier Big 12 team. Not an elite college football playoff contending team, but definitely in the upper half of the Big 12. Opposing styles. Can Arkansas's ground game control things enough against Texas Tech in the passing game?
Well, I think they can. I think Texas Tech is going to have to put a lot of guys in the box. I think a key for Arkansas is their tight ends. Hunter Henry, A.J. Derby in the play actions early in the game. Get some big plays. Make it an Arkansas-style football game. Ground and pound, control the clock, control the momentum, and don't let Texas Tech get off, spread them out, and score in a hurry.
Look, we watched Arkansas against Auburn, and we know they can dominate on the ground. Running the football kept them in the Auburn game. The game got away from them with a couple turnovers and Auburn being able to hit big chunk plays. Arkansas is going to dominate Texas Tech because Texas Tech won't see a run game like this the rest of the year. And I think Arkansas has enough gumption to think that Allen and these tight ends can really do damage on the back end of this Texas Tech defense. So I think it'll turn into a melee out there.
I think it's a really good game back and forth because it's drastic styles of offense.
And right to your wheelhouse, Arkansas does have talent on the defensive line that Texas Tech is going to have.
Trey Flowers is the truth.
Absolutely.
These guys can present pressure situations against Texas Tech and take them out of rhythm. And we all know these spread offenses are about rhythm.
And it's not just him. It's Tywan Johnson. It's Darius Philon. They've got a lot of athletes in their front four that can get pressure on the quarterback. And I think it also helps Arkansas that they had to go up against Auburn 2 weeks ago. And even though it's a little bit different style of offense, it was no huddle. So all week they had to practice against no huddle, getting their calls in fast. And that will really help against Texas Tech spread, fast, up-tempo.
Remember, in the first year of the college football playoff, conference positioning and perception is critical here. Last week was a disaster for the Big Ten. The Big 12 is expected to have a good week here. Oklahoma's expected to roll Tennessee. Texas Tech is expected to win at home against Arkansas. There's a lot of downside for the Big 12 here and real upside for the SEC.
If they lose one of those, it really hurts the Big 12, and it really gives the SEC a greater advantage to get two into the college football playoff, and the Big 10 maybe not getting one. Big 12 maybe not getting one.
Between Arkansas and Tennessee, we're talking about the worst teams in the SEC based off the history of last year.
Coming off of last year and where they were, right.
Oklahoma, Texas Tech, top-tier guys in their conference. If one of these teams leave with the win, it says a lot about what type of football we play in the SEC.
Welcome back to SEC Now. Arkansas visits Texas Tech Saturday, hoping for a statement win. Last week, Brandon Allen became the first quarterback in the last 15 seasons to throw for 4 touchdowns in a game while throwing just 5 or fewer passes. Now, the Hogs have gained at least 10 yards on 37 of their 114 offensive plays this season. That's the second highest percentage in Bowl subdivision. And Jonathan Williams, oh, do they have running backs? He is averaging 16 yards a carry this season, the highest average of any player in the conference with a minimum of 11 rushing attempts. Yes, 16 yards a carry. It helps, true, when you just thump nickels. That's for Texas Tech. The Red Raiders, one of 6 Bowl subdivision teams that has not allowed a sack yet this season. You know how much they want to drop back and throw. That's impressive. Davis Webb, the only Power 5 quarterback since the start of last season that hasn't been sacked or thrown a pick when blitzed. And since Cliff Kingsbury took over, Tech averages the second most plays per game. And if you're keeping track, the Red Raiders 2-0 this year. But listen to the numbers here. They beat Central Arkansas by 7 in the opener. They were a 34-point favorite. They beat UTEP last week by 4. They were a 22-point favorite. So impressive would not be the right word to use to describe them. That said, Boog, what's the biggest thing Arkansas has to do to get to Lubbock and get what would be the biggest win under Brett Bielema?
I mean, just pound the rock. That's what we used to call it. Just line up in your physical base formation and pound them. We all know Texas Tech struggles against the run. They're averaging giving up 227 yards against the run. We know the Hogs are averaging well over 200 yards rushing. So for me, it's really simple. If you're Brett Bielema and you want to prove if your style of football can convert from the Big Ten to the SEC, here's a perfect opportunity against a very smallish type defense and your boy Cliff Kingsbury's defense in Texas Tech.
It's a small Texas Tech defense. It's also an inexperienced Texas Tech defense. They went the JUCO route this past recruiting season and brought in a lot of guys who are only playing in their 3rd collegiate game at the Division I level. It's definitely going to be a point of emphasis for them to try to limit the Arkansas attack, but the way they've been calling plays, not just off play action for Brandon Allen, who has been absolutely exceptional. 14 of 16 off play action with all 6 of his touchdowns coming off that run action. All those things are remarkably important. Yes, they're going to pound the rock, but keeping that defense off balance is equally important.
Brett Bielema loves his offensive line. It's huge. So if you're talking about a smallish Texas Tech defensive front, look out. That could be dangerous, no question. Flip side, though, Arkansas has to slow down Cliff Kingsbury's attack. Ton of plays, which they see when they play SEC teams nowadays. But how do you like Arkansas's chances on the defensive side?
I think we just saw the story. Do not blitz Davis Webb. In his career, 9 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks when blitzed against 5 or more rushers. That's a remarkable stat. So play a little bit passive. Allow the game to come to you. I think you can generate some pressure with your front four. Darius Philon, Flowers, a couple of the best defensive linemen in the SEC. Impose your will. This is going to be a difficult game, but I also think when you're running the ball, as well as Arkansas will run the ball, that's going to allow that defense to be plenty rested to go up against a fast-paced, up-tempo tech attack.
You know, Arkansas's got 2 corners, Jared Collins and Carol Washington. I have a message for you. Man up. Man up. And if you're
play man-to-man?
Play man-to-man, because if you're the defensive coordinator and you realize your advantage up front is Flowers and Philon, I'm going to ask my corners to man up. I'm going to pressure this young guy. Okay, we're from the SEC. We're a big-time conference. Can you handle the pressure of my corners in your face all day with my All-American defensive end, my All-SEC type defensive tackle in Philon? That's the way they have to go and play this game. I do not agree in them sitting back playing very, very passive.
What does this game mean for the perception of Bret Bielema?
To see if he can win. I mean, Bret Bielema, they got their first win. I mean, they lost 10 games in a row. He needs to prove to himself that he can go on the road against a Power 5 conference foe and get a win. Texas Tech is a good football team. They may not be the Texas Tech of old when Kingsbury, the head coach, was the quarterback, but they're still a good football team, and Arkansas needs to prove they can progress, because we know last year they struggled a little bit. Can they progress on the road? Can they take that same run game on the road and pound a Power 5 conference team?
I think it's important, but not really for anything on the field. I think it has everything to do with recruiting. And the reason why Arkansas has a large amount of players on their team from the state of Texas, if you look at the strength of the state of Texas in regards to college programs, Baylor, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, the University of Texas will be back under Charlie Strong, TCU. There are so many teams in that state that have had a tremendous run of good luck and good fortune. So for that reason, they have to go on the road and play well in order to prove to recruits in the state of Texas that play their high school ball in the state of Texas that that's going to be a powerful place to go play football.
First time these two teams will have played since the old Southwest Conference broke up in 1991.
Jones AT&T Stadium in Lubbock, not to be confused with AT&T Stadium in Dallas, owned by Jerry Jones, Texas Tech. Fayetteville next season for the second part of the home and home, but for now they get to host Arkansas. And since the start of last season, Texas Tech has had 11 games where they threw the ball over 50 times. 85 plays per game over the last 2 seasons. Only Cal runs more plays. They throw the ball 65% of their plays. You know what they're going up against. Arkansas runs the ball 60% of the time. Third most run-heavy team in the SEC. Jonathan Williams, Alex Collins, they're averaging over 8 yards a carry this year. 13 yards per carry in the first half this year. Janine Edwards has more.
Arkansas travels to Lubbock this week for a matchup that features 2 totally opposing styles. Texas Tech ran the most plays of any team in FBS last season, so in order to prepare for their lightning-fast tempo, the Razorbacks have been doing something they're calling post-whistle swarm in practice this week. That means once the whistle blows the play dead, no high fives, no adjusting socks or chin straps, they sprint back to the line of scrimmage. Bret Bielema says his team has a needed boost of confidence after their win last week. That win broke a 10-game losing streak, the longest in school history. In fact, the Razorbacks have not defeated a team from a Power 5 conference since Kentucky in October of 2012.
This is the game that I'm most interested in today, believe it or not, because it's a classic style matchup. Timmy, can a punch-it-in-the-face run game slow down and control a nonstop air attack?
Well, absolutely, but they have to do it right from the get-go. And if you're a football fan, you got to love this matchup. 2 clashing styles. This is smash mouth versus let it fly. And a no-huddle Texas Tech offense. But the biggest key to this game is can the front four from Arkansas get pressure on the quarterback? If they can do that, if they can show the Big 12 what the SEC defensive fronts are like, it could be a long day for Texas Tech.
Marcus, what were you saying a few weeks ago, though, about Brandon Allen in Arkansas, how at some point he still has to hit some plays?
He's going to have to hit some big plays down the field. You can run. These guys are almost running for first downs every single carry. But Brandon Allen has to get this ball into some of these receivers and tight ends' hands. He has a good one named Hunter Henry who can really go. Brandon Allen, put your guys in the end zone. Chunk plays, deep balls, create havoc for defenses and let them worry about guys getting behind the last wall of the defense, and you'll have success at Arkansas. Please.
I think you're exactly right. I think their running game is going to keep them in this game. But to win this game, it's going to be Brandon Allen hitting deep plays and play action plays
Absolutely.
to A.J. Derby, Hunter Henry, and Keon Hatcher. If they make big plays, they can win.
Yeah, we talked about Tennessee holding the SEC banner. This is what Big Mouth Bob was talking about last summer. This is the bottom of the SEC. Watch out, Big 12.
How does playing Auburn a few weeks ago help them defensively?
Oh, it helps them tremendously because all week they're preparing for Auburn's no huddle. Given it's a little bit different style of offense, but they're having to worry about getting to the line, getting their calls in fast. They practice it all week, so I don't think it's that big of an adjustment for them to get ready for this Texas Tech offense.
Talk so much about the running game for Arkansas. There's talent on that defensive line now, Marcus.
Let me tell you what, I love Trey Flowers. They play aggressively. Even when I was playing at LSU, we would watch those guys, and they just fight. And in order for this team to become who they need to be, you have to win games up front. They get after quarterbacks. They try to stop the run because they have to defend it in practice against one of the best in the country. I think this is the key to their success as a team, being up front.
And you have to be impressed with how they came out in the first half and they played against a very, very good Auburn offense.
Time to pick the games, gentlemen. Who's moving forward? Arkansas at Texas Tech.
Oh, it's just clashing styles of football, and as a football fan, you have to love it because they're drastically different teams. But I'm going Arkansas because I think Arkansas's run game dominates.
Well,
but then at the end, Brandon Allen makes a few plays to A.J. Derby, Hunter Henry, and Keon Hatcher for them to pull it out in the end on big plays passing.
I'm not going to say a team. They'll have 270 yards rushing tonight.
I think we know who that is.
Make it simple. The Hogs. Woo.
Well, all three of you like Arkansas. That would be a very significant win for Arkansas.
They're a lot better than last year.
Texas Tech beat Arizona State in a bowl game last year. All right.
Who haven't lost a non-conference home game since 2002. Take on Arkansas. And that game was the game after Eli Manning and Ole Miss came calling back there. He threw the ball 57 times, but not all to the right guys.
He's throwing like that today for the Giants.
Oh, wow. Cliff Kingsbury, Coach Hansen.
Coach Hansen right there. Wes Welker. Oh, man.
Look at Welker.
27 back there.
There's a lot of big names in that game back in 2002.
No doubt.
So here come the Hogs now in the SEC. The Hogs secondary hit hard by injuries. That could be a problem against Texas Tech. If the Red Raiders defense hadn't stopped the run very well, that could be a problem.
If this game were in Fayetteville, I would like Arkansas. We all know how tough it is to go to Lubbock. And the whole reason I think Texas Tech wins is that home field advantage. And Chris said, the secondary of Arkansas. This is going to be a shootout, but I think Texas Tech finds a way.
You couldn't have a more stylistically different approach. As far as the way the coaches dress, the way they act, the way one wants to run the football, one wants to pitch it around. I think Arkansas and Brett Bielema get their first Big 12 win.
I agree with you, David. I saw UTEP 21-point underdog to Texas Tech, and they gave them all they could handle for 4 quarters. I'm not a believer in the Red Raiders. I got the Razorbacks too.
You're going Bielema over the guy you call Coach Hansen.
Coach Hansen.
Hogs in Lubbock against the Red Raiders. Old Southwest Conference rivals, SEC versus Big 12 today.
I'm going to go with Brett Bielema's team. I got the Hogs. I got them pulling up the upset.
I don't see Arkansas just slowing these guys down. I'm going to have to take Texas Tech.
You got Coach Hansen, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice pick, lousy pick. I'm going with Suey Pig. Suey Pig over Lubbock.
I got Texas Tech too. I think Arkansas tries to run it, but I don't think they can win in Lubbock. I like Texas Tech at home.
There's a lot of disagreement.
Yeah,
the way they keep track of it on the opposite side.
Low line drive kick taken a yard deep, and Jakeem Grant will bring it out. swallowed up at the 17-yard line.
And Trey Flowers, a guy who may have been as high as a second-round draft pick, came back for the season. Big defensive end.
First pass is over the middle, intended for Grant, incomplete. Good coverage by Tevin Mitchell. I said first pass. Obviously, the fly sweep was a shovel pass. And there's Tevin Mitchell with his second. Terrific play.
You know what we used to call this in the NFL? A guy who didn't play the first 2 games? We call those fresh legs. Tevin looks on spot today. A guy who was not able to play. They were talking about redshirting, and that is 2 just perfect coverages. Get to the junior college guys in and build some bigger depth and bigger sized people in the middle of this defensive line.
Third and about 3. Allen throws the slant. He's going to have a first down to Demetrius Wilson on a defensive unit. Webb with the little swing gets it out to Grant. And Grant, Brooks Ellis hits him, lost the ball. Arkansas says they have it, and they do.
Very similar to the touchdown play.
That's Brooks Ellis, the middle linebacker, reaches in and strips it.
Ellis, a guy who has made great strides, had excellent recognition, got upfield, was all over, but that was the run. But they bring all these bodies in, and it looks like it's going to be a run, and they obviously can get it on the edge.
Now Arenz is in as a blocking back, and they send the big guy, Jonathan Williams, into the end zone for a touchdown. Arenz led the way, and that is
Patrick Arenz just gets a blow-up block. Good lead block, gets push at the point of attack, continues to drive his feet, but this is exactly what Arkansas wanted to attack, is the perimeter of Texas Tech's defense. The corner.
Third down, 8 yards to go for the Red Raiders offense. Webb throws, has it batted down, nearly caught by one of his offensive linemen after Darius Philon, number 91, got a hand on it. Fortenberry almost caught it.
Excellent job by Philon, because there was a blitz coming by.
Mike, he's been in the news a lot lately, and he will continue to be in the coming months. Jeff, you are an athletic director, obviously, for Arkansas, and 5 members of the selection committee are
judge teams and make tough decisions.
Well, whose job is it, and where do you draw the line with a credibility or perception issue in an incident like that?
With those decisions. So I do think that these committee members have opened themselves up to a level of criticism that, frankly, I think as it goes on, I think after.
I think he's 367 if he skipped breakfast. Allen on the run, sprints right up the middle, and slides in safely at the 13-yard line. Nice move by just inside the 14-yard line. Williams makes a man miss. Williams, touchdown. And that's a kind of a drive, Ed, that just wears you down, not only physically, but
should have gone for Tech, and what an excellent move by Williams on that true freshman Madison. And that was I mentioned earlier, the edge of this defense for Texas Tech. It's a big question mark, and that time Madison.
No doubt about that.
Webb with time forced out of the pocket. Throws on the run and picked.
All around the field, wear you out.
Stockton can't get to the outside because Darius Philon came up from his team. Got the score to tie it up. It's 14-14 here in Lubbock. Williams. Power run. Picks up 8-9 yards. Let's check it. Collins, the deep man in the eye. And he'll get the carry. Cuts it outside. 10-5. Touchdown. You're going to see this all afternoon. They are just starting to swallow up the Texas Tech defensive line, and they're running wherever and whenever they want.
To the backfield. Keenan Ward, who got the face mask before, just didn't fill the hole. That's the safety's hole to come and fill. Took a bad angle. Was not able to make the tackle, so 2 back.
He checks out. Stockton comes back in on first down. Stockton with a carry. Trying to get outside. Nowhere to go. And this time he's spun down by Alan Turner, the safety. Williams is the setback. Now a blocking back moves back into the formation. Williams on the draw. Plenty of room up the middle. And Williams moving the pile. Has a first down out to the 46, almost a 47-yard line. That's just a lot of good protection. Allen on the run, throws to the sideline, and a great job by Jonathan Williams to keep.
Don't need to bring pressure here necessarily.
They do bring 5. They don't get there. Out-cut and completion to Keon Hatcher. And that may have been Brandon Allen's best throw of this game.
Pick it up and kicks it 10
yes,
yards
sir.
forward. Maybe they don't have the ball.
You're right. Webb throws a very dangerous pass.
Maybe not quite yet.
This play might dictate whether you do or not. Webb shoots it down the sideline, almost intercepted. It's caught out of bounds. Rohan Gaines. 2-man rush. Webb. That one is picked off. Spate, the linebacker, with the interception on a terrible decision by Webb. And Spate will go in for a touchdown. No, they're going to say he's out of bounds, or are they?
Linebacker Abel lined up right to the right side of Webb. Webb's eyes just never came off of that. I mean, he was on that forever. That's 2 plays in a row where Davis Webb just never gave the defensive player who's reading him any other reason to think he was going to throw the ball right there.
And they dropped 9 guys over the middle, and that's where Spate went out of bounds at the 12. Brandon Allen will give to Washington. Washington inside the 5. Dives for the goal line. Touchdown.
Before. Sure. Davis Webb has to get that interception. Both of those throws, frankly, out the taste out of his mouth.
We got to get there just a little bit quicker. There's the interception that set it up. Good defense by the linebacker. And then Williams makes him pay. Texas Tech 21. When we come back, John Saunders and company will be by with the Cooper Tire halftime report.
Of course, but the way Arkansas has been running it, why not just do that over and over?
Arkansas looks to throw on first down and throws complete to Demetrius Wilson. Wilson fighting for extra yards, has a first down.
On the recruiting trail in Arkansas, that is something you can sell, and they are selling it.
Williams, it's a run formation, no wide receivers. Williams, the big tailback, powers off the right side, first down and more. Williams stiff-arming a defender down to the 20, still on his feet, pulled out of bounds.
This time, it's J.J. Gaines, comes right up into the hole. Now, it would have been a first down, but Gaines drops his head.
Corliss Marshall, the running back. Blitz coming. They fake it to Marshall. Touchdown on the scramble. Brandon Allen had nowhere to go, but he kept the play alive and then saw it.
He looked like he was going to run and ended up throwing to Williams for the first down. This time, again, Texas Tech has the play sniffed out. And then Keenan Ward, the safety.
DeAndre Washington is the tailback. He'll get the carry. And loses a yard, maybe 2.
In the ball game.
10 different receivers have caught a pass. This is Stockton. Wrapped up and immediately spun down by Darius.
The field deeper in the pass game than they did in the first half.
Back to the ground where they have made their money this afternoon. Jonathan Williams. Texas Tech shows blitz. Williams runs through it, runs over 1 man, drags 2 more for a first down, out it to 40.
Position.
This is just punishment. Alex Collins driving straight forward again.
Not quite yet to play against a team like this.
Collins checks in to give Williams a break. And Collins weaves his way through and then shows some power and scores on the ground. We'll be back with the 4th quarter after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Matt Wallace, that and his defense can do.
Williams is back in to the 5, to the goal line. Touchdown. Patrick Arends again. The lead fullback, number 40, has earned his scholarship today with some big blocks. Chance has to answer and get back within 7 and then hope that somehow, some way, they can stop the Razorbacks. 4-man rush. Webb stands in and has the ball knocked down by D.J. Dean as he reached around Reginald Davis, and the crowd thought he had an arm on his back too early. 2 against 2. This is Tech. Webb gonna have to eat it.
So going to go for it on 4th down. Need a 7 or 8 yard route.
4-man rush. Webb will throw underneath and just floated that pass out there.
They were toe-to-toe. They can match up physically now in their league. They're getting much closer.
Alex Collins on the draw, breaks through tacklers, and he's off to the races. 30, 20, 10, slows up, and got the touchdown anyway. Well, it wasn't a sustained drive, but it counts anyway. And what a run by Alex Collins. Then he broke through the last line of defense.
A lot of delays for Arkansas, which is really hard for an offensive lineman. The longer it takes for that play to develop, the longer you have to hold your blocks. And now a lineman for Arkansas down getting ready for the PAT. But luckily for Alex Collins, he was able to clear the goal line before Justice Nelson. Good hustle here.
Yes, it was.
Wow, that's much closer. It's a touchdown. He was across the line, but what a good lesson for any young player.
It's by Arkansas, and they cap it with their biggest run of the day to go up by 21.
Yeah, it's a hard transition, but you start to understand the decision he made.
Webb has that one tipped in the air and nearly picked out of necessity. Webb with time. He'll go deep down the sideline, underthrown and intercepted. Picked off by Andre Tolliver.
Really tough day. Stays on his receivers for a long time, and 4th and 3 decides to throw it up when all you need is 3 yards for the first down. But Davis Webb has a long way to go.
And a new tailback, Cody Walker, fullback, playing tailback. We'll get it on the delay. Walker stops short, but look at the second effort. Got it down to the 29-yard line, and that is another first down. Boy, oh boy. Hogs in the second half, and they earned that.
Sure did. And Brett Bielema has been an outspoken advocate of trying to slow down offenses in the game. Probably went a little far with his comments during the offseason, but one way that you can take the number of plays away for an offense is run the ball the way they did today.
That'll do it. We'll count it down to 0-0. The first win for Brett Bielema and Arkansas over a Power 5 conference team since 2012. That's how much they've been down, and they are coming back. We will take a break and come back and wrap it up from Lubbock, Texas. Arkansas winner here, 49-28, and we'll check in with Janine Edwards.
Brett, congratulations. A huge, huge win.
Well, we kind of take things one day at a time, keep it simple. Thought our guys really came in with a great game plan. A lot of the coaches, good credit. Our players believed in what we do, and we took a little bit of a transformation. We took over how we do things, so just get used to it. That's how we're going to win games. This especially for all the old Hawk fans. I know this is a game that they used to play every year, and obviously a special victory for them. Victory for them.